Hello and welcome to The Red Menace. We're a comedy news podcast bringing you the latest and greatest of hits from your mum's house. I'm Chris Bolson.
And I'm Alison Hoare.
So you know how last week I said that I was, going out on the town looking for love, starting dating again?
Back on the scene.
Back on the scene.
Sure. How's it going?
It's been put on hold. It's been paused
Okay.
indefinitely because there's a situation that needs to be resolved first.
Right. Intriguing.
I have
Do
to
tell.
kill a mouse.
Mickey Mouse? The Disney mouse who is taking over the world bit by bit?
I have named the mouse Mickey in my head because that's what the internet told me is when you are going to kill a mouse, if you respect the mouse, you should name it and humanize it first because that'll make it easier to murder it.
Okay. I would imagine it would do the opposite, but I guess if you're killing Mickey Mouse, you could read it as smashing capitalism.
Exactly, and we all know I'm about that.
Yeah.
So this mouse is in my home. It's in my life. It's been tearing apart my plastic garbage bin bags, which is very strange because I've never met a creature that likes to eat plastic before, unless there's some weird alien that's living in my bin cupboard.
I would hope not, because that might be worse than a mouse if there is an alien living in your bin cupboard.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say that, firstly, the mouse struck first. It dealt this insurgent committed what can only be described as a terrorist act on my garbage bin.
Okay. In what way?
Well, I mean, my garbage bin was just there, and this creature obviously wanted to strike fear into the heart of me, which, if I'm being honest, it has successfully done, because I'm quite skeeved out by the whole concept. So I will be retaliating with the full force that Woolworths can provide.
And what can Woolworths provide in your armoury for this task?
I am nothing if not a gentleman. So I have put down 2 ethical mouse traps that it could crawl inside, and I have put some juicy peanut butter in there, which it will not be able to resist.
Yummy.
And this is my message to the mouse. You have 24 hours to surrender yourself into this trap. After that point, I will put out a kill order on you because I only have this weekend, really, to deal with this mouse situation.
Yeah, it has to be done.
It has to be resolved.
It has to be done by this time.
If by this time tomorrow the mouse has not entered the trap, I will resort to lethal force. And I have also purchased some lethal force because, look, you and I are both grown-ups, Alison. We know that in all war there is casualties.
And that's really unfortunate. In this one, there's only 2 possible casualties.
There's only 2 possible casualties, me and the mouse, and I intend to live.
I would hope so, because otherwise I would need to find another person to co-host and edit and do all the work on this podcast.
Yeah, and I haven't seen this mouse's resume, so I don't know if it's going to be able to commit to that sort of long-term arrangement. So I've bought some mouse traps because I'd like it to be quick if it has to, but I would rather not resort to chemical warfare, but I will if I have to because this is my home that's been invaded by this mouse.
But you don't, at the same time, you don't want to make your home unlivable to you.
Well, no, but I'm not going to eat the mouse poison because
maybe one day you'll come home, you'll feel a little bit like
a bit peckish.
And then you'll see like a little bit of cheese sitting on the ground, and you'll be like, ooh.
And I'll get down on my hands and knees. I'll get down on my hands and knees, stick my butt up in the air, and wag my tail, and just lick up this nasty poison cheese and die on the kitchen floor.
Exactly. That's exactly what I think I can see happening. So you want to make sure that you're not drunk around this, because that could be the mouse's tactic.
Oh no, this is, Alison, I'm on the battlefield. There is going to be no substances until this conflict is resolved. No substances
on the battlefield. You've got to stay sharp in your mind to get this.
I've purged my house of all immature things, of all temptations. All that I have now
You've set up like the battle lines, the like bits of barbed wire fence like coiled on the ground. You've got the trench dug, which your landlord might have a problem with, but if you explain the situation, they will.
If I say I had to kill a mouse, they will understand.
Yeah, well, they'll be like, well, just thanks for not calling us to do that for you.
So this is my public announcement to the mouse. It won't hear it until after it's already dead, but it has 24 hours. It has 24 hours to surrender, and I hope that it does the right thing.
Now, the problem is, when you catch the mouse in this ethical mouse trap, where does it go?
Well, that's the question, because I have a hunch, and also Wikipedia has a hunch, that if I do take it somewhere else to release it, it will probably die. So,
yeah, if anything... but then it's not at your hands.
That's not me that kills it directly, though, like, you know? But what I was going to do is...
If it gets eaten by, like, I don't know what eats a mouse, like a
big Rottweiler or something.
Yeah, or like a snake. If it chows down on that little boy, then it's not really your fault.
Well, what I was going to do was, if it does crawl into the trap, was I was going to put the trap whole into some sort of plastic bag, because I do not want to carry the trap directly and have that kind of mouse exposure. And I was going to take it down to the river and put it in the park. Not in the river, you sickos. Mm-hmm. I was just going to, like, release it in the park that's a good kilometre from my home. And
sure.
Because I feel like it's not going to travel all that distance back, I hope. Unless this mouse loves me really
unless
deeply.
It's really attached to you. In which case I would say you shouldn't kill it. It's now your child. It's now part of your family, and you have to accept that. And you have to accept your son for who he is.
Yeah, but if I had a son who ate bin plastic, I think I'd...
Well, you've got to sit him down and have a little chat to him and be like, you shouldn't eat bin plastic.
Unfortunately, they don't make child psychologists for mice.
Well, how do you know?
That's true.
I haven't done the research.
I do need to do the research. All right. Well, Mouse, you have 24 hours, during which time I will do the research on what other ways.
About child psychologists who can stop my son from eating bin plastic.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to spend the next 24 hours trying not to kill the mouse, and then after that point, I will kill the mouse.
Yeah, well, after that point, it's just taunting you at that stage.
I won't take any joy in it. This is not something that
it's a horrible thing.
But it's something that I have to do for the good of my apartment.
Yeah.
This experience is making me understand racism, which is...
No, Chris. That's a very bad thing to say.
Do you have a story for me?
That's very bad.
That was a joke. I apologize for that one. I don't understand racism, and I will try not to commit war crimes against this mouse.
Don't commit war crimes against the mouse. It's just a little boy.
I did just spill tea all over my crotch.
Well, see, that's your punishment. That's your comeuppance for that naughty, naughty joke that you made.
Yeah, it's true. It does look right like I've pissed myself. So
So you'll walk outside and they'll be like, that man looks like he pissed himself. I guess he made a racist joke. Because making racist jokes is essentially pissing on yourself.
Alison, I'm not going to be able to leave the room because the mouse will see, and it'll see the weakness.
You'll feel humiliated in front of your enemy because the enemy will know that you pissed yourself.
Maybe it will lull the mouse into a false sense of security, though. I don't know. I've got to strategize.
Or it could make your son lose respect for you and then lose any hope of ever making him come around to not eating bin plastic.
That's true. Do you have a story for me that's not about how I'm going to kill a mouse?
Should we talk about snakes?
I would like to, because they also kill mice, and I relate to them a lot right now.
You can relate to their, their desires.
Their goals, their dreams.
Yeah, look, it's snake season in Australia at the moment, apparently, is what I've been...
Awesome.
And apparently, here's the thing, a little tidbit of information for you, climate change is making snakes more abundant.
Fuck yeah. Awesome. Cool. Love it.
So the snakes have a lot to be grateful for our killing the environment.
Another thing to look forward to in the future. This long future that my life is going to be.
It's just more snakes. But it's not necessarily, more snakes in general. It's more snakes coming into contact with humans, which is the kind of snakes that,
my favourite.
Yeah. We don't really care if there's more snakes, in the jungle, but more snakes coming into contact with humans because there is no jungle. Now, that's exactly what the problem is.
My family's little property farm thing, it's not like a farm, but it's it's like a hobby farm. It's a douchebag farm, whatever.
Sure.
But when I used to catch the bus home from school, I would then walk about 1 kilometre up the driveway, and about midway along there's a sort of cattle grid. that you have to go over. And in the summertime, in the springtime, there would be a considerable number of snakes underneath this cattle grid, pretty consistently.
It seems like a good place to be if you're a snake. It's like under a grate so no cows can step on you.
No cows can step on you. It's a little warm pit. They get to look right up my jeans when I walk across the cattle grid.
They get to look right at all the cattle's udders when they cross the cattle grid.
What was super cool about this cattle grid was there was no other way through this fence. In order for me to get home to my Game Boy and to my nice juice, I did have to cross this snake threshold on a daily basis.
And you peek down and there's a lot of little snakes like winking at you and you're like, no,
Alison, they were quite large, substantial brown snakes, the poisonous ones.
Yeah, and they're winking at you though.
That's true. They could have killed me very easily had they chosen to.
But they didn't want to because they respected you.
And also because I would walk extremely slowly across this cattle grid. It would take me a solid 20 seconds to clear the cattle grid just because I was moving in, like, John Wick slow motion.
Because if you, the theory I'm getting from you here is that if you move slowly, snakes can't see you.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, if you move fast, they bite you because that's what YouTube told me. I did a lot of research watching YouTube videos very slowly because we had poor internet.
Yeah.
On how to survive my own house.
Right. Well, which is something you need to do if you live in Australia, is research on how to survive your own house.
My worry is that with the global warming, there's the couple of snakes that are down there are going to just sort of turn into like a vat of snakes.
It'll be like an entire pit of snakes.
They'll just kind of like be wriggling, sticking out of the top, and you'll have to leap over it and clear it and not touch it or you'll get bit. And that's terrifying to me.
I mentioned before that we had a lot of snakes in our backyard. And because we did have a vacant lot next door, which was essentially all grass and fallen trees. Which, in case you didn't know, is like the
snake
perfect
incubator.
Yeah, it's like the snake, like, you know, perfect
paradise.
place for them. Yeah, paradise. And we had a cat that was a little bit wild, and she would often go in there and come out with a slain baby snake and leave it on the front door step as like a nice gift because she's very kind, very giving. But you just know that there's some angry, vengeful parent snakes in that grass ready to slither on out and like kill.
That's a really like a cold shot to the mummy and daddy snakes over there is to take the kid snakes and not like go for the king, unless your cat was building up to that.
Well, I don't know, but maybe the cat was trying to frame us because maybe the mummy and daddy snake didn't know the cat did it, and they come to the house and they see the dead baby snake on the doorstep.
And they think, know that what have these humans done?
Yeah, and they're ready to kill.
So
we mostly had the red belly black snakes and like the ones that look the same as red belly black snakes, but they have a yellow belly because they're not red.
But they're also bad.
Yeah, they're also bad boys.
They're all bad.
But I do like the red belly black snakes. I think it's got a really nice emo aesthetic to it, which I think is something we can appreciate.
Yeah, just like real emo people, they have deadly venom in their teeth that will kill you in under 25 minutes.
Exactly. So I'm going to jump into this story, actually. But it is a little bit of like a snake contact with human, as I mentioned, which is going to become more and more common.
It's going to become prevalent.
I'm reading from Perth now, and it says, concerned Queensland motorist leaves note on car windshield warning of snake under bonnet.
Oh no!
So there's a picture here, which is just a picture of the piece of paper that someone had written on and left on the windshield of this car, and it says, "Do not drive your car," in capitals with like red underline. There is a snake underneath your motor.
Well, I mean, okay, here's an initial...
And by the way, underneath is spelled UNTER, new word, NEATH. Underneath. There is a snake underneath or in your motor. A motor being MOTER.
This is going to shock all of our many listeners, but I am not a mechanic. I'm not a car expert.
Sure.
So I'm not sure if there is a route from the spot underneath the motor into the car proper. Like, I don't know if the snake's able to cross that threshold or if it's just going to get all churned up.
But I don't want, like, a roasted snake under my car bonnet. It just doesn't seem ideal.
I'll say this. I'd rather a roasted snake than a living snake under my car bonnet.
I just don't want to eat. I don't have a car, so I don't have to worry about this. But
That's
can I
true.
just say, like, under the picture here, because this website has, like, the thing where they've got, like, an autoplay video up the top, which is not related to the story, but is related to another story. The title of that autoplay video, which I cannot watch right now, is Snake Regurgitates Dog After Swallowing It.
Jesus.
And it's just not a sentence I really wanted to read. So I'm just going to scroll right behind that.
Why do I live in this country? You had the right idea when you left. It's not safe.
Now I don't really see snakes every day, but I do see a lot of rats and a lot of cats and a lot of bats.
Well, that's a self-sustaining ecosystem at least, because the cats will kill the other ones.
Well, see, here's the thing, is like, at all the street food vendors, there seems to be a lot of, like, cats hanging around. But the ones that have the cats hanging around, I'm like, I'm going to eat there because there's probably not rats there because there's a whole gang of cats here.
That's very true.
And they're ready to fuck shit up, you know. If things go south, the cats are there.
Maybe I should take the Charlie Kelly approach to my mouse problem.
And put the cat in the wall.
Put the cat in the wall, or just get a bat and just go to town on the cupboard and hope that it solves the problem. I'm just going to continue
reading this story, so we don't get reported to some animal cruelty authorities.
Yeah, it seems wise.
Returning to your car to find a note on the windscreen usually means one of two things: someone's dinged your ride, or you've copped a parking fine. That wasn't the case for a Queensland family who were thankful for the message, even if it came with an alarming warning. Okay, we've read the message. Snake catcher.
Car may contain traces of snake.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a photo now of, in fact, the snake all coiled up, nice, warm and cozy inside the motor of the car.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, well, he looks like he's enjoying himself. Snake catcher Brian Lockett revealed a motorist spotted the snake slither under the bonnet as they drove past. The family weren't sure if the snake had left either, Mr. Lockett told Yahoo News Australia. They didn't want to open the bonnet either. They were terrified. They're not fans of snakes. Found in the car was a 1.6 metre long carpet python. The snake was relocated. Now, that's the end of that story.
And I like relocated. That sounds so clinical.
It's just somewhere else. Now, I'm always keen to, like, discover new snake catchers, you know, new celebrity snake catchers. And in this story we don't have Toni Morrison, unfortunately.
Damn.
But we do have Bryce Lockett. And
that's a very good name.
Being the person that I am, as soon as I discovered the name of a new snake catcher, I went right into Google News and I plugged that snake catcher's name into Google News. And let me tell you, there are a lot more stories from the past month featuring this same snake catcher.
Oh, interesting, Bryce.
An interesting trend that I have noticed among the snake catcher community is they are quite, like, media whores. And I mean that in that there are always a lot of stories featuring the same snake catcher or same series of snake catchers. And I think there may be 3 or 4 media snake catchers that I have happened across. So let me just read out some of the other headlines from August and September featuring Bryce Lockett.
Okay.
So this one's from Yahoo News. Huge python slithers out of bathroom light, just as kids were blah, blah, blah. I don't know what happened there.
Something unpleasant, I'm sure.
Just as kids were taking a bath or something, maybe.
That's the worst possible time, because if I get attacked by a snake, I would like clothes to be on.
Look, I'm just going to click on that and see what... Just as kids were brushing their teeth. Okay, sure.
Okay, that's safer.
Yeah. Another headline. So that one is from August 9th, and there's a lot of different republishers of that headline featuring Bryce Lockett. This is the next one. It's called, from a news source called Starts at 60, and it's also about the snake in the car.
Okay.
This is another one from International Business Times, featuring snake catcher Bryce Lockett from August 22, and it says, snake found in women's bathroom sink shocks residents.
Okay. I mean, Firstly, I like that Bryce is an international business person. I think that's very cool and respectable.
Well, he's in International Business Times. That's pretty cool.
I don't love that this snake is a sexist snake, so it's only harassing women's bathroom sinks. I think it would be cool if the snake would try...
Well, I don't think that's very appropriate, is it?
No, I think the snake should be equal.
Here's another one from International Business Times from August 11th. And this is, huge python eats parrot alive while on porch, terrifies family.
I'm sure it terrified the parrot even more than the family.
Well, the parrot, did the parrot have time to feel terrified? I guess it did, because pythons eat pretty slowly.
It said it was alive, Alison. It was quite explicit about that. I have a theory.
Sure.
So... You know how I've previously surmised that I think Toni Morrison is just deliberately putting snakes into people's homes in order to get himself
Bryce Lockett, I believe, is probably doing the same thing.
I think that there is one big snake catcher group chat. And what they're doing is, because I think that maybe they originally started out doing that, where they would just get snakes, they'd catch them, and they'd put them into people's homes, they'd rescue them.
Toni Morrison listened to our podcast, and he knew we were onto him.
Yeah, so they've had to take this a layer deeper. And what they're doing is, they will get all of the snakes from their own area, they'll put it in a big Tupperware box, and they will then they'll ship it via express post so that it can't be opened, and it does make a very unpleasant hissing sound. They ship it to another fellow snake catcher, who then empties that Tupperware box onto the local street and just lets the snakes do their dirty business.
Lets them loose. They're working together.
So the snakes have technically been relocated. It's just that they've been relocated to another suburban area.
Look, I tell you what, one of the things that I found really fun, right, is... In searching the news for Bryce Lockett, there were a lot of stories from August and September this year, but then before that there wasn't any stories...
That's when he got a big shipment.
Yeah, there weren't any stories since, November 2017. And in November 2017, there was a series of stories in the Indonesian news about Bryce Lockett, the snake catcher, commenting on... a python eating bats in Australia. Now...
Okay.
Now, I just thought...
This is in the Indonesian news.
This is in the Indonesian news, and this is happening in Australia. So the Indonesian news is covering pythons eating bats in Australia, and Bryce Lockett has been contacted for comment.
Okay, I think Indonesia surely has enough shit going on. They don't need to talk about our
Indonesia
snakes.
has a lot of... I read a story in the Indonesian news the other day that was too grim to read on this podcast about a snake eating a human being. So Jesus. I think that's a little bit more.
Maybe this was like their light-hearted sort of story. They were like, we need something nice and chill. How about a snake that eats bats? That's very fun.
Yeah, exactly. We need a snake that eats bats, and we're going to seek comment. Well, they didn't seek comment, I suppose. The Daily Mail seeked comment, sought comment. It's probably sought.
I like sook. I think sook is the appropriate word for the Daily Mail.
They sook comment, and a lot of Indonesian news sources have decided to pick up that story.
Can I give you a story? This one's submitted by intern of the show, Marianne.
Thanks, Marianne.
So this is from the website Lad Bible. This is written by...
Did you hear that someone who was like a former staff member at Lad Bible is now like a chief of communications for some British MP or something like that? That was something that was going around on Twitter. But anyway, let's continue with your story.
Well, we're all going to die. So this is written by Tom Wood. And the headline is, Dad wants compensation from taxi company because his ice cream melted.
That's a really sad thing to happen.
I know. An angry dad has demanded, which is my favourite subcategory of dad, an angry dad has demanded compensation after he had to wait for a taxi to arrive and his Asda shopping, including a tub of ice cream, melted. Melvin
Pretty
Lee,
heavy stuff. Heavy stuff.
Melvin Lee, who lives in Folkestone, Kent, said that he was waiting around for a taxi to take him and his shopping home in the record-breaking bank holiday heat last week. The 40-year-old says the taxi drove straight past him, and left him with no option other than to throw out half of his shop, which, as well as the ice cream, included some frozen veg.
Oh, but the thing with frozen vegetables is eventually you're going to want them to be unfrozen.
Well, yeah, they just become a short-term food instead of a long-term food.
They become veg.
Just regular veg, wet veg.
Wet veg. That sounds really bad.
It does.
Let's continue the story, hey?
Yeah. And apparently the whole ordeal has left his young baby stressed out.
Sorry, the baby?
The baby was really looking forward to that ice cream, Alison.
Yeah, the baby didn't want, like... You know, when I was a kid, I used to always, like, make my ice cream into soup by, like, stirring it until it went really runny, and then, like... I don't know why I did that, but that was something I enjoyed. Well, I imagine this baby probably wouldn't care if the ice cream is melted or not
everyone
melted.
knows that ice cream is the food you feed babies when you're transitioning from boob milk to solids. Like, when the boob milk's not doing enough, but they don't have the full-on teeth yet, you just give them just a little bit of the nice cookies and cream that's really good for baby health.
Do you remember when the story was going around quite a few years ago now about, like, the Baby Gaga boob milk ice cream that was being sold in the UK?
No, Jesus. That's a thing? That's some Freudian shit.
Yeah, it's something to look up later. Baby Gaga ice cream.
I will look that up and weep. Okay. Now, nobody wants their ice cream to melt into a sticky mush. But you'd have to say that asking a taxi company, who there might be a completely reasonable excuse for being late, was taking compensation a little bit far, right?
Sure.
He told Kent Live that he'd called up Folkestone taxis to get him, his girlfriend Claire Rogers, and their 8-month-old son Edward from the Asda supermarket at the town's Beauvais Place shopping centre. However,
nice French.
Yeah. However, Folkestone Taxis said that he was only waiting for his £45 shop for 31 minutes. To be fair, that's probably long enough for ice cream to go a little bit weird in the heat. Mr. Lee said one taxi pulled up and took another couple. My baby was stressed while waiting. I now want to describe the image.
Okay, I'm excited.
It's these two white middle-aged people looking very unhappy.
I love those news pictures, which the journalist has clearly gone to meet his subjects or the talent, and they're like, "Look, we need a photo of you guys. Can you look serious?" And then they do the thing that white middle-aged people do, where they fold their arms and put on a grumpy face. But they're also taking a photo, so they look like they're trying to smile, but trying not to smile at the same time.
Okay, so their arms aren't folded.
Okay, well, that's a shame.
The mother, I believe, is sort of holding the very unhappy-looking baby. And the father is just kind of like sitting there, legs very wide open.
Oh no,
just kind of like just looking very severe. And in front of them on the ground is a series of shopping bags, and I just really like that little detail of in the moment realism.
Yeah.
Well, I can't see any fluid spilling out of any of them, so I can't be sure. There's no wet veggies just like sort of lying on the floor, which I would.
Well, that's a shame. You got to have like the wet veg and like the melted ice cream just tipped everywhere on the floor.
Well, you just need to have that nasty soup, you know, of the like cookies and cream
with
like
I
wet
would do?
veg in it.
Here's how I would pose this picture. I would get them to scoop up the wet veg and melted ice cream in their hands and look grumpy as they hold that in front of the camera.
As it dribbles between their fingers.
As it drips out of their hands. And you got to like get the high-speed lens on so you can like catch the drip as it falls.
They said 20 minutes, then an hour. They left me outside Asda, losing all my ice cream because it melted.
I mean, at some point, if you're waiting for like an hour, would you not just go back into the store where it's kind of somewhat cool?
Also, even in 20 minutes, the ice cream's still gonna melt, my man. That's like...
Yeah.
And you should have been prepared for this eventuality.
Just use Uber.
Incidentally, Asda is selling the ice cream for £1.50 a pop. That's not very much at all, is it? He could just pop back in and buy some more. I like that there's this story where he's, like, taken photos of the people and he's, like, actively criticizing their, like, arguments throughout the article. A spokesperson for Folkestone Taxis said, all our drivers are self-employed, so they choose their own hours. We can't dictate what hours they work. Mr. Lee was told the taxi would be a minimum of 20 minutes. However, it was 31 minutes, not an hour.
31 minutes?
Send him round with his receipt and I'll reimburse him myself. That's a great called shot. I did tell... Also, and this is fun...
You need to get a taxi there, though.
Just as wait. I did tell Mr. Lee, he shops at Asda. I don't think they really do any expensive ice cream there.
No, I don't think so.
Which the vibe I'm getting is that's like the English Aldi.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So this guy lost £3.
And after Brexit, that's the only ice cream they're going to be able to enjoy.
That's very, very true. Also, there's another photo up the top of the same couple, and they're holding 2 tubs of ice cream, which no fluid is... There's conspicuously no melty juice dripping out of it, which I think is unacceptable. And that's all there is to that story. I just wanted to tell this fucking tragic tale.
This absolutely tragic tale.
Yeah, and also we did get...
Sorry.
You go.
No, I was going to say, I've got another tragic tale from the UK.
Let's do it.
And really the reason I've got a couple more stories, but the reason I brought this one up right now specifically is because it does in fact have like another staged grumpy picture of the talent.
That's very good.
The story. And look, when I read this story, I was thinking back to the story last week, I think it was, about the man who found the egg in his egg. Or was that the week before? I don't know. I've lost all track of time.
I don't remember what happened yesterday, let alone... All I know about now is the wet veg and ice cream and the mouse. That's my whole life.
Yeah, that's your whole life right now. But we read the story a few weeks ago about the man who found the egg in an egg. And there was... this article has very similar kind of vibe of a picture. Okay. In that... We've got the subject in question, who is a counsellor, Steve Smith, based in Bristol. And look, I'll read the headline and then I'll explain the picture. So it says, man opens can of baked beans to find bean juice and only one bean.
You know how you go to like a fancy restaurant and you order like, I'll have the duck bouillon. And
yes.
it's like one duck toenail in just like a vat of juice, and there's a single asparagus. So this is really fancy baked beans.
Yeah, it is. It's like, actually, when I was still living in Jogja, I went out to this Italian restaurant, which everyone was raving about. And I met up with 2 friends there, and the 2 friends both ordered pasta. And their pasta dishes were like huge, generous portions. But I made the mistake of ordering tortellini, which is well known for its not great portions. And I kid you not, there were 4 pieces of tortellini in like a thing of sauce.
Can you imagine if you ordered like...
It was the most disappointing
That's so sad.
amount of food.
Can you imagine if you ordered a pizza and you got like a 1 inch by 1 inch square of pizza inside the normal sized pizza box?
That's essentially what I was getting though, because they put it in the same bowl as all the other pasta dishes. And I'm like, well, geez, thanks. I only had 4 pieces, and also my dish was like 2 times as expensive as the normal pasta.
I ordered a sandwich, but they'd cut the slices of the bread as thin as like sheets of paper, and that's the amount that you got. They gave you 2 sheets of paper bread, 1 slice of ham, and that's your whole meal, and it costs...
It sounds like Subway.
60 Australian dollars.
So, this picture, right, we've got the man in question, Steve Smith, looking towards the camera, making very, very intense eye contact with the camera, with his piercing blue eyes.
That's what they always tell you at, like, modelling shoots, is it's like the most important thing is look at the camera like you want to... You can't decide if you want to fuck or kill the camera, but you have to want one of those 2 things.
That's essentially what I'm getting from his eyes. I'm feeling a lot from looking at this man's eyes, this young fellow. Well, not young fellow, because he's balding. this middle-aged fellow. And on his mouth, he doesn't have lips, from what I can see, but he is kind of smiling, but in a disappointed way.
I feel it. I get that. I understand that.
You know, like when you come home and you're like, Mum, I got my mark back for my assignment. And then you show her and it's not as good as she was hoping, but it's also not that bad. So she's like smiling, somewhat disappointed in you. That's the smile that this man is making right now.
Yeah, I've talked to my therapist about that a lot. So, yeah, no, I get it.
You can see, you know the smile then. You know
I'm
the smile.
very familiar with the smile.
Like, yeah, he doesn't want to be angry and he doesn't want to be upset, but he is a little bit disappointed, but he also wants to make you feel more comfortable. So he's trying to show happiness.
So it's a smile of, oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And in one hand, he holds a Heinz beans can and holds that up to the camera so you can see the label. And on the other side, he's holding a fork with the singular bean on it.
Do you think, because this would not be a hard story to fabricate, all you'd have to do is buy a can of beans, eat 25 out of the 26 beans.
This isn't like the egg inside an egg. Now, that is a hard story to fabricate.
No, because you can't make an egg in an egg without breaking a few eggs, but you can eat 25 beans without... I mean, there will be consequences, but just not, like, from a journalistic standpoint, from a health one.
Perhaps this is a situation, like, you know when you live with other people and there's, like, a box of cereal and someone's eaten most of the cereal and there's still, like, the cereal dust, but they put it back in the box and back in the cupboard and you still think there's cereal? So then you go to eat your breakfast and it's just cereal dust.
Well,
Perhaps this is what happened.
That happens to me and I live by myself.
His wife opened the can of beans to realise there's only one singular bean in it and was like, honey, what is this? And he's like, it must have come like that.
So that's why he's making this face. It's not actually like disappointment, it's shame that we're seeing.
It's like, I ate all the beans except one and I put it back in the fridge and now my wife is shaming me for it, and I have to pretend that I didn't eat all of the beans except one.
I mean, again, I do that to myself. Like, I live by myself, and I'll frequently eat all but one of a thing, and then I'll get it out, and I'll feel so sad, and I'll be like, oh, who did that? Oh, it was me.
I had a thing of Oreos on my desk at work, and the thing was, I ate a lot of the Oreos, not all in one go. There was like 2 sittings of the Oreo eating, and then after the last sitting, there was one Oreo left in the packet, and I'm like, well, I should basically just eat it at that point, right? Because when are you going to want to eat just one Oreo? When do you feel like eating one Oreo?
Never. Also, you powered through those fucking Oreos. I respect that shit.
I think other people had some too, but,
okay.
You know, it's,
well,
I'm going to send you the image.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah, you were not... That is the face of every British sitcom character. Just like a kind of the face of a polite, well, I'm here.
I'm like, he's the straight man in the like straight and funny man kind of comedy dynamic.
Yeah, his face to me says, I'm here and I'm trying to make the most of it, I guess.
This is where I am in life.
I mean, he is wearing a blue t-shirt and a blue hoodie on top of it, so I mean, yes. It looks like he's seen some shit.
Yeah, well, he saw a can of beans with only one bean in it. So I'm going to read the story now, after we've been talking about it for a while.
Oh, yeah, okay, I forgot there was one.
A man was shocked to discover just one bean swimming in juice after he opened a tin of baked beans. By the way, I'm reading this from theindependent.co.uk.
Yes.
Steve Smith, 41, was looking forward to a quick, easy meal after getting home late from a busy day at work. But when he opened a multi-pack tin of Heinz baked beans ready to tuck in, he was shocked to discover there was only one bean and some juice. On average, a Heinz bean tin contains about 465 beans. The local councillor based in Bristol said it was annoying, but he managed to see the funny side. He said, I got back late from a residents' meeting and wanted some food. I poured out the tin and I found just one bean. I thought it was funny, but annoying. It was the last tin we had in the cupboard. Of course it was.
Total. Wait, like, wouldn't that mean...
I had to have a scrambled egg instead.
He pours his one bean onto the plate. Does that just mean that, like... Because baked beans, it's like it's a series of solid objects. So this was just a bean and a fluid on a plate, yes. Which presumably would have caused a considerable amount of splashback just through to, like, gravity. That would have been a real messy process.
Yeah.
Anyway, please proceed.
No, there's not really much else to the story.
Oh, okay.
It's a Mr. Smith, Conservative councillor for Westbury-on-Trent. And...
Well, then he's just...
said he eats beans once every couple of weeks.
He is just reaping the consequences of capitalism run wild. I think this is karma.
Yeah, well, exactly. Now, what I think is missing from this story that we did see in the egg story was we did get a good rundown on the man's diet of eggs and how often he eats eggs and when he eats eggs and why he eats eggs. But in this story, we only had, like, one small mention of how often he eats beans, which I didn't think was enough. Like, I want to know more about this guy's bean diet.
Can I be real? I fucking hate baked beans so much.
Me too. I cannot stand them.
I don't get the appeal at all.
It's also like the spaghetti-o things as well, which is like gross,
foul.
wet pasta in like disgusting tomato.
If I'm going to eat pasta,
syrup.
It's going to be pasta that I have wet by my own hands with the sauces from the fridge. I'm not going to eat pre-wet pasta.
I feel like it's easier and cheaper to just buy a bag of pasta.
Just wet it yourself. Put some goop in it.
Yeah.
That's better, and also tastes better than the nasty goop.
Quick recipe for those of you who are listening. If you want like a really, really simple pasta and you're really lazy, just wet the pasta yourself, make it hot and wet, okay, and then put it in the bowl, take out the water. You can't have the water in there. Just put a little like knob of butter in there and some salt and pepper and parmesan. Boom, there's your food. Eat it. It's delicious and simple.
It's also basically mac and cheese.
Yeah. Well, it's just butter and parmesan with salt and pepper.
It's just butter and pasta.
Yeah, well, that's okay. It's fine. It's still better than a tin of...
goop.
Wet red pasta.
Wet nasty boy goop. Can I read you one final story? Because I can feel the Sudafed wearing off and I'm going to fall asleep at some point.
Well, that sounds like a good idea.
This story, I believe I actually found myself.
Ooh!
This is from runnersworld.com.
Okay. I love getting into some niche publications.
Woman wins 50k ultra outright. Trophy snafu for male winner follows.
Okay, well, there's a lot in that headline.
Yeah, it'll make sense in a minute.
Okay, I'm keen to hear how it makes sense.
Heading into her fourth and final lap for the Green Lakes Endurance Run 50k in Fayetteville, New York, on August 10th, Ellie Pell figured she'd make one last pit stop before kicking it into the finish. The 27-year-old ultra runner, which is a fucking cool name for a thing.
I wish I could be an ultra runner, but I don't even think I'm a standard runner.
No, I'm a crawler. From
Me too.
Ithaca, New York was having a great race so far, splitting between 7 and 8 minutes per mile on the grassy, uneven loops that were about 8 miles long.
Mm-hmm.
I've been running that pace for my easy runs lately, so the first 2 laps felt really smooth, Pell told Runners World.
Oh, well, okay then, sure.
I
it's
thought
just the easy run, like, it's not even that hard.
I jog a meter and, like, I die. Like, I don't have easy runs.
Any run is difficult.
I thought the third lap would be the hardest, but I didn't slow down this time. Miles 20 to 30 are always my sweet spot in an ultra. That's when I was feeling really good, so the fourth lap was cake. When she approached the aid station halfway through her final lap, she saw the first place man taking a drink. And just like that, she squashed her thought of stopping for the bathroom. It was go time. I blew past the aid station, she said. It was like a switch flipped. I'm not usually competitive. In workouts, I run behind my training partners, but there was no way I was going to lose this race.
I can see where this is going.
During her last... she broke the tape as the overall winner at 3 hours 58:37, which meant she averaged... I'm not going to read all the statistics because it's boring.
Because this is what happens when you read a niche publication.
Yeah, as they tell you a lot of
data about running.
Behind Pell, the first place male winner, second place overall, Richard Ellsworth, finished 8 minutes later. The race director was blown away, since a woman had never won this race before, Pell said. She's a hell of a runner, race director Tim Hardy told Runner's World. Ellie was in third, behind 2 guys for most of the race, and I wasn't trying to pick favourites, but I was rooting for her. On the 4th lap, I told that she was just 30 seconds from first place. I said, you can run those guys down. Unfortunately, while there was an award made for the first place female, there was no award prepared for the first place male.
Fuck you.
Instead...
I love that. I love that they had, like, the bloody, presumption... Well, I guess, in the history of the race...
This is a statistically based sexist presumption, I think.
It's a statistically based sexist presumption, but also it's so funny.
Yes.
That they didn't even think about the possibility that this may happen one day. So they
didn't bother. Instead, there was only a trophy for the overall winner, which was predicted to be a man. It was great, but also an awkward situation, Hardy said. When, obviously, there's a lot of great women runners, but you don't see them winning ultras outright a lot. When it happens, they get 2 awards. I ended up taking both awards, the overall winner and the first place female, Pell said. I felt bad that the first place man didn't have one, so I tried to convince them to blot out the fee on female.
They just get some, chewing gum and just...
But they said to just keep both trophies. It was pretty funny.
It's great. I love it.
After the race, Hardy ordered a first-place male trophy to be made for Ellsworth. And here's the fucking kicker. When asked whether the race might offer first-place male trophies in the future, Hardy said, probably not. Instead of giving out more awards, he is more interested in awarding the top 6 finishers, regardless of gender. Which I guess is good, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know.
But I just fucking adore this. It's so,
Oh, I love that too. I think it's a good piece of justice, right?
Yeah.
This guy's so presumptuous. I guess, in the history of the race, they haven't had an outright female winner before. Sure, whatever. But I think you're going to have to accept that maybe it might happen one day.
It's possible.
It's a possibility.
And he said he was rooting for her. He wanted her to win, even though they did not have a contingency in place for her to do so.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have... They're like, we want her to win, but we don't have a trophy for the first male.
It's beautiful. Do we want to...
It is beautiful.
Do we want to wrap up? There's not a lot more to that story. It's just lots of boring details about
lots of boring
running.
Details about running, which no one really cares about.
No, except for the people...
some people who read Running Magazine, I'm sure care about the details about the running.
Shout out to runnersworld.com.
Runnersworld.com. Maybe this is our future. Maybe we need to find a really, really, really niche publication to work for.
I like that idea. I think it'd be a pretty chill job.
Yeah, I think so. I think you could go to a lot of events related to that niche, but you just have to find a niche that you're actually interested in.
Here's my worry.
You don't end up being like a non-runner writing for Runner's World and having to write a lot of things about running.
I applied for a job the other day that I'm not going to get, but it was a journalism gig at a men's magazine, and some of the things that they wanted you to be interested in were whiskey, cars, watches, and I was just like... I don't think I'm the guy you're looking for, you guys.
I don't think I could be interested in any of those things.
No, I fell asleep and also, just visualised...
You're tailoring your resume.
Visualised the edited...
I do love a good watch, a good Jamtangan on my wrist.
Like to write about it, you'd have to be the kind of person who sees a picture of a Rolex and then immediately masturbates while shouting, I'm the fucking man! Because, I just can't comprehend it otherwise.
On those in-flight magazines, how they always have, goods to sell?
Yeah.
They always have expensive watches. And I just look around on the plane and try and guess who the target market for those expensive watches in the magazine are.
Because someone has bought a plain watch before. It
yeah,
must
otherwise
have happened.
they wouldn't keep selling it.
No, the market must exist, which is
there must
incredible.
be people buying like plain Rolexes, otherwise it wouldn't be a thing.
So I think it's just a very, very wealthy person who has no spare time to go regular Rolex shopping, so they can only buy them in transit. And
they want a new watch for when they arrive at their business meeting, so they just buy one on the plane on the way every time.
I think we need to talk to Bezos about setting up a Rolex division of Amazon that we can head up. Because we're going to make a lot of fucking money when when these rich people learn that Amazon exists.
Chris, what would you do if you got that job, though?
The boys magazine one?
Yeah.
What I would do is... Because I'm assuming...
And you had to pretend to be interested in Rolexes and whiskey and cars.
I think I would just assume correctly that most of the men reading this won't actually read the entire article. So what I would do is I'd write, 200 words of just, masturbating about whiskey or whatever. And then the rest of it, I would make it be, a really erotic My Little Pony fan fiction or something like that. Just something...
Would bring in that would bring in a new type of reader to the magazine.
Exactly. Their numbers would be going up, and they're like, we don't know why, but ever since Chris started working here, we've been getting all of these hits.
We've been getting a lot of hits from a lot of strange, referrals. But, we're into that.
And at the bottom of each of the articles, I do have to say, the first rule of Pony Club is don't talk about Pony Club, because then my boss will fire me for what I'm doing. But,
and then you also have to put in there, some, subtle smash the patriarchy kind of, hints, drop their hints in there about that.
The villain of the My Little Pony erotic fanfiction is going to be a pony who drinks...
Is a patriarchy.
Is a patriarchy. So he drinks whiskey, he fucks in expensive cars, he has 4 Rolexes, 1 for each leg, and, his mane is all gelled up.
This is your My Little Pony OC that you're creating.
Yeah, and unlike most horses, he does have a very small dick, but he overcompensates really, really well.
With his Rolexes, yeah.
Yeah, and that My Little Pony named Tanner is gonna one day... he'll get, his own special fanfic and about how, Tanner needs to find real love and will then learn about equality.
What you should do because you can't just straight up publish a huge pic of this pony in the magazine.
No.
So what you'll have to do is you get the whiskey bottle that is being photoed, and you hold up a picture of Tanner
behind
so that the reflection
bottle.
can be seen in the whiskey bottle. If you look at it on a certain angle and so then there'll be all of the fans of the fan fiction will be going onto Photoshop to try and find the photo of Tanner inside the photo of the whiskey.
I really like this. So when I do, I review the next the sick Lambo, I will have, the little dial that, reads out the speedometer. But if you look really close, there is, 1,000-word fan fiction written in the, LCD of that. I've hacked the Lambo to include my porn document.
Oh, dear. Look, I will admit, before I moved to Indonesia, I did apply for some jobs at, some really kind of... really kind of boring women's magazines?
Yeah.
And I'm I could pretend to write about, what is Prince Harry doing for his wedding? And Prince Harry is going to have 2 birds at his wedding. And, I don't know what happens in those articles, but I could certainly find out.
I would love to get to write, a Daily Mail tabloidy style thing. I just want to write the headlines of, all the paparazzi shots. I just want to be able to write, Ben Affleck's shirt game fucking sucks ass, and have that be, the headline. Ben Affleck wears unflattering trousers. Loser. It's all just going to be really mean to Ben Affleck specifically.
Everyone else is really nice. Everything else is really nice, but it's just Ben Affleck.
Yeah, it's Kylie Jenner looks fucking fat. Ben Affleck sucks ass. There'll be another...
Poor Ben Affleck.
And then it'll be Flume sucks ass, but in a fun way, not like Ben Affleck, who sucks ass in a not fun way. And
exactly.
That will be the general vibe. Every headline will dunk on Ben Affleck in some way or another, even if he's not in the story. Yeah. I think this is going to be a very successful publication.
I think so.
The Daily Affleck.
I think it... I just make like a really niche publication that just publishes news about one celebrity, but like not in like a fan way.
It's just about how much Ben Affleck's a fucking loser.
I want to make a Danny DeVito news site. It's just all Danny DeVito news, and all it basically does is it gets all his Instagram posts, because he posts a lot on Instagram, and it just explains them in great detail about like everything we can see in the post, right? So maybe Danny DeVito posted a picture of his foot, like he likes to do quite regularly, and so I'll explain like in great detail about the state of his toenails and about like, you know, what I can see in the background of that, because that's all the content will be. Will just be regurgitated from social media but explained in great detail.
I'm going to call my Ben Affleck newspaper Sad Man Go Away, because I think that's really the ethos of what I'm trying to get at. Let's wrap up.
I'm going to make a pun for mine, but it's a pun if you understand Indonesian.
I don't.
Which is Danny Dorita, because burrito is like news. So Danny Dorita. There you go. Indonesian language... Danny DeVito News.
I think Danny
the only site in the world doing that.
Danny needs to get a Doritos sponsorship, because I do want to be able to eat Danny Doritos, because those would be so fucking good.
Oh dear. We've been throwing around a lot here that's not news, so we should probably wrap up, hey?
Thank you everybody for listening. Follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Red Menace Cast, or on Facebook at The Red Menace Podcast. You can find us on our sick merch at tpublic.com. Just search The Red Menace Podcast. Do we have anything else? Please make your friends listen to the show.
I think you're hitting most of the bases, hey?
Yeah, please read Sad Man Go Away and eat Danny's Doritos. Thank you everybody for listening. Good luck and good night.
Thanks so much.